You're listening to the Fox and the Phoenix podcast, understanding the feminine cross-dressing experience.
Hey, Julie.
Hi, Savannah.
I understand why this may be something that in your work as an advisor or as a counselor, it may be tricky.
Yeah, yes, it actually is. And the problem is I don't want to discount people. I don't want to prejudge people.
Right.
Unfortunately, the bandwidth is sometimes so narrow that you need somebody to like be very deliberate and mindful with their approach as they come to either of us. You can't, unfortunately, I can't answer every hey, on my messenger.
Right.
And, a lot of those come from people that are not following me and they're just like message requests. And those are the ones that, you roll the dice on those for people who are like, I'm from Syria and I'm looking for a trans wife. You got to suss those out quick. And unfortunately, a lot of the times they start off the exact same way as somebody who really has a true issue and is looking for support. And yeah, it's hard. And I try so hard to like vet before I respond based on their profile, or if there's no picture, we don't have any friends in common. So I try to go through a checklist of things. And then next it's like, okay, here we go. Hello back. How are you? And then see where it goes. And, sometimes they descend into madness, unfortunately. And sometimes they end up being lovely conversations with whoever's on the other end in any way I can help them. And then, of course, if they're looking for services, I'll point them to you. If they're looking for a really in-depth conversation, which I really don't have the bandwidth to give them at that moment, I'll say, listen to the podcast, or I'll say, check out book 2 because it's very specific to what you're asking, or book 1 because you're trying to suss things out with your partner. Those things are very real. And, there's so many words in the books that I can't even like copy paste into a response. When I'm sitting at work doing my 9-to-5 job. And it's unfortunate. I wish I could have the entirety of the day to help people in need when they need it. But yeah, it's very interesting that, just even between masculine conversation and feminine conversation, that they are so intricately different in their approach.
Yeah, and energetically different. And I mean, there has been very interesting the conversations you and I have had when we've had the opportunity to work with a couple, together, like whether it be in tandem with a messaging experience, whether, you've seen a couple in person. And it's really always very interesting, the kind of takeaways and the kind of information we gather based on just the dynamic of having the two entities show up and one person's experience versus the other's experience. And I do think that it's really important to have the conversation with the significant other and the cross-dressing individual. I think that it is vital for the cross-dresser's experience and for the significant other's experience. And if you and I can be facilitators for that, amazing, amazing. But I think that sometimes the dialogue and the energy and the defensiveness and all the projections involved, it can be difficult.
Yeah.
It really can, especially if, for me as a cis woman, someone is coming at me in a way, their masculinity is being received in a way where I'm just like, this does not feel comfortable or safe to me. Or this is how you talk to a female. This is how a female responds. A feminine engagement back and forth is sometimes important. And it's really important for me to set those boundaries and not feel so afraid that I might hurt their feelings, because they need to know. They need to know that if you ask me dozens of times to be, to put you on the internet, it's okay if you put me on the internet. If that's the sole purpose of wanting to work with me, is the idea that often I will build relationships with people, and I will have their picture on my Instagram because because the moment is appropriate. They've given me their blessing. They're in an outfit that is, farm to table or computer to self, which I love. To me,
lookbook to table. Yes.
If ever I see a client in the outfit from the lookbook, then it is a human moment. I want it. So I will say, please, is there, right? But if that's your sole goal, to like get in touch with me so that I can do this thing and make you real and expose you, then I need to set that boundary. Then that's not really who I am. That's not really the heart of it. So the more you say it, the more likely it is that I'm gonna not slap your hand, but I'm going to have to get crunk. I'm going to have to get in my masculine self and be like, this is not okay.
Whoa.
Fucking whoa.
Double.
And And I have in the past be like, that is not okay.
Yeah.
You need to stop mentioning that.
And you have been an inspiration to me on this specific front about boundaries. I struggle with boundaries all the time. Because I want to be helpful all the time. And I want to, I don't want people to suffer the way I've suffered, because I got to the point I am through suffering. And if I can help somebody recognize where I'm at for them 20 years earlier, all the better. I want better for people. But I did also have a recent conversation where the entire point was for them to want to send me pictures of them in order for me to validate them and say they look pretty. And I did ask that. I said, are you looking for me? She's like, can I send you pictures? I'm like, is this purely because you want me to validate you in some way? And she's like, yes, I want you to validate me. I said, well, I can't really do that for you. Right. And I did I said, maybe there's somebody more local. I said, maybe try FetLife if you're looking to have that kind of connection. Maybe there's a meetup group that you can meet others like you that would be very supportive in that manner. But, unfortunately, from afar and not being a close friend of yours, it's difficult to be that person for somebody else just through the ether of the internet. And so I am trying to set boundaries. And again, I don't want to dissuade people in our audience to reach out. But, as you and I speak about all the time, about many things, is about intention. And it's about holding space, holding love, and having intention. And remember, we have to recharge. We have to recover. We have to look for ourselves, for our own self-care, you and I both. And, if we're constantly giving it away to everybody online and I'm not going to say for a whim, but for all the little things they want, we'll never have time for ourselves, for our families, for our projects, for our jobs. It's a lot to take on. And I'm happy to do it when it has a meaning, has a purpose, has some intention behind it. And those are the ones I gravitate to, both by men and women. It's just kind of just fascinating, like how the stereotypes of masculine versus feminine is not just in physical presentation, but also in even how we converse with each other, even how we message each other is so different. I think you had mentioned there's like a page in my book that
Yep. Okay. I have that page all ready to kind of discuss.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Prepared. I just wanted to step back just 1 second before we forget this great point that you said about boundaries and about energy. And this week, I actually stumbled across this quote that was really powerful, and I want to share it with everyone. And that's, caution. Empathy without boundaries can lead to self-abandonment, and constant self-abandonment leads to burnout. Please be careful with when and how you give your energy.
That's so true. That's so true. And we don't ever, half the time, we don't even see the forest for the trees on that one. We feel that we are being fulfilled by sharing and doing for others, and totally forget that, like, don't forget about you, specifically your self-care. It's not selfish to have self-care.
A year ago, you'd be like, standing up for yourself or educating or giving away those energetic, precious gems you have inside you. Yes, because you felt it was important that they knew, or you felt like you had to be a spokesperson for respect so they know. So maybe it saves someone else down the road. I have no idea, but you felt agitated and the need to kind of respond in a way that there was a need versus my approach that was just like block, block, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have time for that. So it's crucial so that we can do the kind of work that we do, I believe.
Right. And it's also a very delicate balance. We have spinning plates, both of us.
Yes.
But again, I don't want to not hear somebody's story. I don't not want to engage and offer some top level of advice. But I think the thing is like you and I both have built something, right? You with your lookbooks and your styling consulting, and me with the books and us with the podcast. And there's hundreds of hours of the podcast. There's 800 pages of my book, and you have styling like crazy, and it's all there. I mean, so much of it's there and accessible. It's just a matter of finding for yourself sometimes versus just like looking for somebody to answer the question for you, so you don't have to research it. I believe that it happens in tandem. You need to both be open to asking a question and hearing a response, whether it be me, you, or somebody else. And also do your own research, because you're your own mind. You have to do for you and have to process for you whatever you're reading or digesting or seeing. Those things are critical for your specific growth, not for, Savannah said or Julie said, therefore it's
right.
True. Yeah.
Right. And we carve out time every week to put our alls into this podcast, to give the best information as we know it, to give you, the listener, the attention you deserve. If you're going to message us at a certain time of day when you're feeling some sort of way, know that we are invested and involved in an entirely different part of our mind and being. So dropping everything to cater to your need at that moment, it's not really realistic. You won't be getting the best of what we have to offer because we are totally shifting gears, so it's kind of going to be the diluted stuff. So I encourage you to take a listen. And if this episode doesn't particularly speak to you, or you're not hearing what you need to hear, we have a ton of content and we've been doing this for a long time. And I think that knowing how and when to show up in our lives will benefit you the most, ultimately. Sending us a message on Instagram, that is a great way. And know that if we see the message and it says seen, but we don't respond, we held you in loving space and we will do our best to get back to you when we can. But our energy is limited.
Or even do it as an episode. I mean, we've done, how many times have we done that where we've seen a message, we may have responded your eye to the message and say, thank you so much for sharing. We love you as a listener. And then freaking turn around and throw it onto a show because it was an important thing for not just that person to hear, but so many people to hear. And,
correct.
Yeah. And I love that. I love the interaction, or I love the outpouring of self from others that say, this is what I've been enduring, or this is what I've experienced. And we can add that to our collection of knowledge and our examples to really help everybody who may not have seen that message. You can find me on Facebook at Savannah Hauk, or at Living with Crossdressing, and on Instagram at Savannah Hauk. Remember, that's HAUK. And to learn more, go to my website, livingwithcrossdressing.com.
And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Fox and Hanger or at Julie MTF Style, as well as on our website at foxandhanger.com.
Julie, it's your moment.
The Fox and the Phoenix podcast uses Anchor. Copyright 2022. Yes, nailed it.